Hi, this is Alexandra Olteanu from Microsoft Research. As you type a search query to assist you, web search engines make query completion suggestions. While users benefit from this feature, it was also found to fail. These ad campaigns highlight suggestions that surface harmful beliefs based on nationality, gender, and race. While modern search engines have become increasingly proficient at identifying such clearly problematic suggestions, proactively locating problematic cases we don't know about remains a persistent issue. This is because many problematic cases are less salient, context-dependent, and generally more elusive. Consider these examples. None of them contain profanity or reflect sexist or racist views. What makes them problematic is the context in which they are surfaced. Contagious is an excellent suggestion for the flu, but not for cancer. Setting clear boundaries around problematic suggestions is difficult due to the long tail and open nature of search and writing tasks, and variations in data quality and in how people assess potential harms. To map the type of problematic suggestions users may encounter when writing their queries, we first turn to prior research blog posts and news articles on the topic, uncovering a rich array of scenarios including misinformation, stereotypes and biases, but also more elusive scenarios like those evoking memories of traumatic events. We also found intersections between categories, as defamatory speech could, for instance, also reflect ideological bias. To examine factors used either by the system to determine which suggestions to surface, or by users to assess the suggestions they were presented with, we ran crowd experiments where we asked judges whether hypothetical query completion scenarios were problematic, why were they problematic, and who was referenced. We experimented with three factors: the query prefix typed by a user, the user search intent, and the suggestion being surfaced. To generate hypothetical scenarios for our experiments, we used 4 distinct samples of query logs. Overall, we collected about 500,000 assessments for a wide range of scenarios. By examining these assessments, however, we found that many problematic scenarios were not salient enough for a majority of judges. In some cases, only 1 or 2 of 12 judges correctly assessed them as problematic. This raised concerns about using the standard majority label in contrast to investigating any user flag as in incident reporting systems. On the slide, each plot corresponds to query samples capturing distinct types of search scenarios and shows variations in the prevalence of problematic scenarios, x-axis, based on how assessments were aggregated to determine which suggestions were problematic, y-axis. We observe important gaps suggesting the standard practice may not be the best practice, as it might overlook many problematic scenarios. Inspired by prior work, we then investigated if rare search scenarios were more likely to be problematic if surfaced. Looking again at the prevalence of problematic scenarios, rare search scenarios appear more likely to be problematic both when comparing how prone rare versus common query prefixes were to be associated with problematic scenarios, top plots, as well as how likely rare versus common search suffixes were to be perceived as problematic, the bottom plots. This also suggests that prefixes vary in their propensity to surface problematic suggestions, represented here as a separate dot. In our experiments, we also asked judges to distinguish between suggestions problematic given the prefix they were suggested for, the x-axis, and those problematic on their own, the y-axis. Some prefixes appear associated more with query suffixes likely to be deemed problematic on their own, while others were more associated with suffixes deemed problematic due to the prefixes they were suggested for. Failing to account for the context in which suggestions are surfaced can thus exacerbate the problem of overlooking problematic scenarios. For more details, please check our paper.